That's not a trauma. 2 hours later, screaming in pain, the doctor walks up to me and he says, "We're going to cut your leg off." That was trauma. I argued with him. I told him no. That's another story for another time. But for this purpose, we have to change our definition of trauma. It's a little loud up here, Vin. And that, because when we think of it, it's always war zones or motorcycle accidents, child molestation, rape, things of that nature, which are terrible. And we should think they're terrible because they are. But we have to change up the definition or understanding of it to also be whatever your system, the neurology, perceives as life-threatening, which can be like if you're 2 years old and you're out in the yard, you fall down, you're crying, and nobody comes to you. Or there's a bunch of people there and nobody will play with you. Or your mother and father are yelling and you don't understand the language, but you know the feeling, okay? Those are all as trauma-inducing as war zones or car wrecks. And they're primarily the reason that most people end up in a chair in front of me, is from those other little traumas that start somewhere between 0 and 5, okay? Vinny's making funny faces at me back there. Just because they have those traumas, they're not broke. Most people think they are. They act like they are, but they're really not broke. Okay? When your system is manifesting symptoms, okay, it's actually working correctly. It's actually doing exactly what it was programmed to do. It's just nobody gave you the rule book, nobody gave you the paper to show you how it works. It's kind of like the remote when you get a new TV. You just throw it out and keep going until you find what works. All right? And for a lot of people that end up doing this on themselves and or for other people, you notice that it's none of it's linear and none of it is logical, because it's not going to make sense to your conscious brain, where your subconscious is putting things. Okay? Your entire system is basically on feelings and pictures based on a hologram. All right? That hologram controls every other part and communicates with every other part of your body. NLP comes at this in a completely different type situation with trauma containers. And every time I think of trauma containers, I think of Ghostbusters. But you see that movie? They come out, they got the big gun, they zap the energy, it goes in the can, problem solved. Then the can grows. They got to put it in another can. The can grows. They got to put it in another can. And by the end of the movie, that stuff is all over the place. It's pretty much how your system works. If you don't deal with it, it keeps growing. It keeps moving around. Because your body, your neurology, over time starts sorting all these things. Things that are similar, it starts putting together. Things that have commonality start going together. Okay? When I threw that pen, was that the one for this? No. So, since you guys are good with your imagination, if this is your normal, everyday type anxieties and traumas, some days are good, some days are bad. And in the middle of that is about your baseline, okay? And then you get one of these really big ones. It's like a spike, all right? It is a spike. It's a spike in your emotional system, okay? The spike goes all the way up here to something that's called T-0, which is the maximum amount of emotional trauma in your body. Okay, at T-0 on this scale, you're dead. Your body, isn't this a wonderful chart you guys like? Can you all see it? What color did I do it in? Thank you. And as you're going into a trauma, your body is constantly, your neurology is constantly monitoring everything that goes on and recording everything that goes on. So as it gets all the way up here, T0 is here. As it gets right before T0 at T minus 1, your body does something really interesting. It shuts off. Completely shuts down, quits recording, takes everything, takes all those files, all that information, throws it into a trauma container and buries it inside of your neurology. Boom, gone. At T1, as it goes up, when it gets to T1, your body shuts it off. So above that, you have a blackout. Or you have blank spots in your memory. So if you have situations of, they don't have to be major traumas, but some people have traumas in relationships. If parts of that you can't remember, it's because your body shut it off. That little loop plays only up to T1 and just constantly goes around and buries it in your neurology. If you think back, yeah.
So is that why some people don't remember stuff from their childhood?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's anything that your system perceives as life-threatening. And that could be anything when you're young. If you have a very traumatic household, you know, it wouldn't take much, and you can shut a lot of things out. That little container just goes in, only goes up to T1. That's all you're going to remember. All right, which is a big thing with PTSD. All right, they never knew they survived. Because the interesting thing is, at T0, one of two things will happen. Either you died or you survived. If you survive, it's going to start recording again from T1. So you have absolutely no memory of that at all. Explains a lot of things, huh? So how do we make that work? Okay. Think of something that is not particularly happy, something you want to get rid of. Nothing big, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, something like a 1 or a 2. Something you just really don't like, but you'd rather just get rid of it. Okay? Close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and just think of it. And then when you find it,
Unhappy memory?
yeah. Not a big one. Is that a good one? It's an unhappy memory, you're not supposed to smile. I'm just saying. But okay. And then when you find it, now just go ahead and point to where you first feel it in your body. And then notice the energy that's associated with where you're pointing at. What color do you have? This is the group part. What color do you have? Oh, red. Okay. All right. Now what I want you to do is, with your finger, just trace around that energy in exactly the shape that it's in. And notice every little bit about what you're drawing out around that energy. Notice the shape, whether it's sharp, whether it's pointed, whether it's round, whether it's got weight, whether it's got a temperature. Who wants to share? What'd you come up with? What'd you come up with?
What do you mean?
From the shape. What describe the shape? Oblong and abstract?
It was more abstract.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Come on. What's your name?
Kenny.
Steve. I remember you. We did that, didn't we? I have a bad memory. I'm going to work on that. Okay, so close your eyes again. Point to that feeling. Okay. And what color was this?
Orange.
Orange? Okay. Now trace around that shape. And while you're doing it, just describe what you feel, what you see.
Kind of like empty, I'd say.
Mhm.
I see the instance, and really just kind of an empty, hollow type feeling.
Okay. Does it have a temperature?
Cool.
Cool. Does it have a weight to it?
Heavy.
Heavy. Okay. So what I want you to do is just relax and just, in your mind's eye, just sort of find the center of that. And when you get there, just nod your head. Okay. And what I'd like you to do is I want you to go all the way back to the beginning of the feeling of that energy. The first scene. Just take it back like a thread goes through a needle. And just follow it all the way back, all the way back, all the way back. Until you get all the way to the first scene or situation where it happened. And when you get there, just nod your head and let me know. Okay, great. Now as you're there, looking around, look at your hands through your mind's eye. And are they big boy hands, little boy hands, or somewhere in between?
Little boy hands.
Little boy hands? So about how old would you be with those little boy hands?
9.
About 9? 9 years old? Okay. And is it daytime or nighttime?
Day.
Daytime? Okay. And are you alone or with people?
People.
People? Okay. Do you have shoes on or are you barefoot?
Shoes.
Shoes. Is it hot or cold out?
Hot.
Okay. So now just look out and tell me what's going on. Explain to me the story of what you see, what's going on when you're 9 years old.
I'm at a kind of like a coach pitch game.
Mm-hmm.
Family's going through some things, mother, father, and it's about my turn to bat. And coach used to pitch to you until you miss the ball 3 times, and then they'd put a tee out. And I remember just before I hit, my father pulled me aside, said that him and my mom were getting a divorce. And I remember trying to hold it back before I went up to bat. And I went up to bat and I ended up, I guess, striking out for the first time that year, and had to bring the tee out, which I guess that was pretty embarrassing for me too. But I remember that, and then I remember rounding the bases, and I don't think I ever talked to my mom about it, but that's kind of where it ends with the tee being brought out.
Mm-hmm. So in the middle of the big game, your dad tells you they're going to get divorced. How'd that make you feel?
Confused.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely sad.
Mm-hmm. And how did they react to you at the game?
What do you mean?
You know, after it had affected you, did they have a different reaction to you at the game?
Yeah, I think he probably left.
He left?
Left.
Mm-hmm.
That part's kind of vague, I guess.
Kind of vague? So let me ask you, if you could go back in time from where you are now, and you could go in and you could talk to that little guy at that game, at that time, what would you tell him to make everything better? Going back with all of your knowledge, all of your experience, everything that you've been through in your life, what would you tell this little guy that would make everything better right now?
I don't know if there is.
You don't know if there is?
It's going to make everything better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that, but you can give them some words of encouragement.
It's words of encouragement?
Love them both.
Mm-hmm.
Be the best person you can be, and work to basically take the good from people and leave the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Take the best qualities from everyone, and just keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That would be some good advice, wouldn't it? So let me ask you something. When you look at him right now, is he smiling?
My dad?
No.
Me?
Your younger self. After this information you just gave him.
A little bit, yeah.
He's a little bit? Okay. So, what would he like to have more than anything else in the world? What do you think he would like to have that would make him the absolute happiest motherfucker in the whole entire universe? what would that be?
Probably like a mirror to the future.
A mirror to the future.
Something like that to the future.
Really?
Yeah,
Cool. What else?
I guess certainty.
Certainty. What else? Some pretty wild stuff for a 9-year-old that he wants, huh? Okay. Anything else? All right. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to make a movie of this. Okay? With him. I want you to write the movie. I want you to script it. I want you to pick the actors. I want you to make an absolute blockbuster movie, giving him exactly what he wants. Okay? It's going to be number one in the movies. And I want you to just keep building that and keep making it better. Use the knobs underneath to adjust whatever you need to do with the colors. Keep putting more actors in. Okay? Make it the best movie you can possibly make it with them. And then I want you to sit there and watch it with them over and over and over again. And keep watching it with them over and over, over and over at the speed of thought. Let it keep getting faster and faster. Okay? And when it's absolutely perfect, just nod your head and let me know. Cool. Very cool. Now with that perfect movie that you have there, there's a feeling inside your body somewhere. Where do you feel that? Where do you feel that first feeling from that movie? Go ahead and point to it.
It's kind of in the stomach, I guess.
In the stomach? Okay, and what color is the energy that's associated with that movie right now?
Yellow right now.
Kind of yellow? Very cool. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to imagine that movie playing like an IMAX theater. Make it as big as you can possibly make it. Okay? And while you're doing that, I want you to notice all of that wonderful yellow energy that's just now jumping out of the center of your body, right there where you felt it, and just filling up the entire room. Filling it up from wall to wall, from floor to ceiling. See it start swirling around. And as it starts swirling around that picture, that movie that you're watching up in front. Okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to take out a camera and just take a picture of that movie. And then reach out with both hands and grab hold of that picture you just took. There you go. Filled with all of that energy all throughout that frame. And you can feel that energy just coming into your body. All right? And what I want you to do is open that picture up as far as you can do it. Okay? And feel all the feelings that come from that. And I want you to raise it up above your head. Okay? And I want you to pull it down through your body. All the way down. All the way through. And when you get down, then lift it back up again. Put it back up over your head and pull it back down through your body. You just keep making passes through. Notice each time you do, that whole first scene, that whole first feeling that you felt just starts disappearing. Like hot water running over an ice cube. That's it. Just keep running that picture with all of that energy through your body. And keep pulling it down from the top of your head all the way to the bottom until you can't see that picture anymore. Until you don't have that original feeling there anymore. Notice the feelings that are starting to come about. What are you feeling now?
A little more happiness towards.
A little more happiness?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not as sad. More okay with things.
Mm-hmm.
Better, ultimately.
Better. I guess that's why you're smiling, huh? It's all right. Keep pulling it down. Till it's gone? Is it all gone?
The picture, yeah.
All right. Try and bring it back. Try and bring back that original feeling. And notice what happens instead. What happens?
I mean, I just see smaller me. I don't see a lot of the outside stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of the newer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Better feelings.
That smaller you, is he smiling now?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'd like you to do is open your eyes and notice how the world looks now.
It's a lot of yellow.
Good job, man.
Thank you.
Give him a hand. Excuse me. It doesn't matter whether it's a war zone or a bedroom or a boardroom. Okay, the mechanics are always exactly the same when it comes to that, and you don't need to bring up all the pain of a trauma in doing it with this kind of process. Those processes are out there if that's what you want to do, but he had a lot of information to share about his situation, okay, and what happened when he was young, all right? And even though I was over here working with him and talking with him and working with him on his problem, how many of you guys took care of your own problems while you were out there listening? Uh-huh. Okay? It's kind of amazing, isn't it? Everything in the system is a hologram, and everything is a container. And as a matter of fact, now science is just coming around to the fact of coming out and saying that the entire universe is based on a holographic design. Okay? So, we're all connected. NLP basically went about this in a different way in that they took a look at the brick and mortar parts of it. Okay? They did the digital, the old factory, the little brick and mortar pieces to attack and go over things. Brent's approach, which I don't know if I ever mentioned his name earlier, that came up with this, Brent Baum, who was the originator of holographic memory resolution. All right? His approach was and is completely different in that what he realized is when people are describing their pain or their situation, okay, they're using metaphors. They're using metaphors that are somewhere around them. And sometimes it's, just like an object that they're using to describe their pain. So you're talking with somebody and they tell you about the accident they had and how much pain they're in and everything else. And every time they go to turn, it's like this knife right here in the back. What do you think the container is? It's a knife. Okay? They will tell you exactly where it is. When people are talking about the pain that they feel, they're showing you exactly where the container is. When we did that first exercise, well, a couple of them now, first exercise where we were feeling good and I had you to point to it. All right? You now had the somatic address of that container within your hologram. And when I asked you what color the energy was, now you started to pull out attributes of that particular container and what's contained in it. Because they're always recording up to a point, and then they get stored away. They go up to T1, the recording stops, and that's all there will ever be in there. So basically, we can, as we did with here, you can change one metaphor with another metaphor. You can change one hologram with another hologram. Okay? All you need to do is to go into the original scene within that sealed container and give it new information. So we entered it. We injected new information about a person that survived it. Sealed container. When you find the first one, this person survived. Okay? Now they have information that takes over that void they had with T0. And they can move on past it. Okay? So you just inject the new information, and from there, The rest of the story will start changing itself. All right?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Uh,
No.
I understood that if your ability to remember stuff shuts off, how do you reach back out to those memories and then do what you're saying? How do you inject more stuff if you can't even locate the stuff?
How do you inject more stuff if you can't locate the stuff?
So if you say, okay, Amy, go find that memory for me, I'm like, I can't, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's blacked out.
Okay, and if it came from a trauma or was locked away in a container, you won't find it. Okay, and for the most part, on big traumas, you're not going to be able to do it yourself. Somebody else is going to need to help you do it until you learn how to do it. Like now, you would go back and look for things in a different way, and you would probably be able to locate it. Okay? For instance, when I had my accident, all right, no one to cut off my leg, but I had the same thing. I was at T0. So at some point between when I'm coming around the corner and a truck is coming at me, it shuts off. All right? Personally, I'm very stubborn and bullheaded and, and I wasn't putting up with the story that I didn't know what happened. So, not that this is the same type of situation, but basically I created my own story for what happened at that time, which is going back like 30 years now. For that part that I didn't actually witness in order to get past it. And then went on. Basically, I created the story that after I got hit, went up in the air, flipped over 3 times, and on the way down, I was flipping off the driver. It made me feel better. I moved right past it. If you can get to that point, that's the initial container, and you can put that new information in, you can go through it. I can't even tell you right now whether that happened or whether I just made it up back then. Because that was the piece that got me through it. And it really doesn't matter because you're the only one who controls your video. Okay? You're the only one who controls your editing deck. And you have every right to go in and change anything about your past in order to make you feel better going forward. Amazing, huh? We change it, and we have the right and authority to do it when we are the way we are because of what happened. Bullshit. It's a cop-out. We didn't know it was a cop-out when it happened, but it's a cop-out. We are the way we are because of the way we remember what happened. Okay? You can change it. You didn't know you could change it, but you can change it. All right? That about wraps it up. Look at him. He's nodding at me. What'd you do? Okay.